Well, everybody was familiar with the grisly crime, as Axios put it over the weekend, after a white Ukrainian woman was senselessly murdered by a Democrat on a bus. It is such a grisly crime that the video was sent to actually to over 100 different reporters, of which none decided to release it except for one local station who even released an edited version, citing sensitivity for the family. I want to remind people that they weren't sensitive to us when they played every minute of the 17 minutes of George Floyd ODing on fentanyl. When I was 4 years old and they showed me every image they could of Jews being slaughtered in the Holocaust, they didn't have sensitivity in mind then. For some reason, whenever the victim's white and the attacker's black, not only do they not want to show you the video, they don't want to show you the mugshots, they don't want to release the names, they don't want anything released. Why? Because out of fear, for the same reason why the New Jersey Transit won't release crime stats anymore, they don't want to stoke racial tensions. This gruesome murder was so serious, even Trump had something to say about it. Listen.
I just give my love and hope to the family of the young woman who was stabbed this morning or last night in Charlotte by a madman, a lunatic. Just got up and started. It's right on the tape. Not really watchable because it's so horrible, but just viciously stabbed. She's just sitting there. So they're evil people. We have to be able to handle that if we don't.
Well, who is they though, Trump? Who are they? They're evil people. What's kind of crazy is they say we can't show it to you. And the pretext of tonight's show is to explain why they're trying to hide it from you. Remember, it's the same reason they shut down TikTok when they were showing you war scenes from Gaza. The same reason why X started putting warning signs and shadow banning any type of war crimes that were going on in Israel, because it was changing public opinion. They don't care about her. They don't care about the opinions of what's going on. They're afraid of a race war in this country, because if whites really knew what was happening to them in terms of their taxes being stolen, in terms of the crime put against them, I'm going to show you tonight actually how very few crimes white people commit against anybody else. Most violent crimes from whites are crimes of passion. They're in between ex-lovers, business partners, things that are kind of normal in a developed society. Not great, but normal. But the brutality in our country exists solely in the hands of Black Americans and slightly in the hands of Hispanic or Latino Americans. And whites are getting blamed, and we're going to show you how they're rigging the system to make it look like we're violent when, in fact, we are the most peaceful race on the entire planet Earth. My name is Elijah Schaefer. We have a great show for you guys today. It is approximately something p.m. Eastern Time in the United States. This is The Rift live Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Let's start the show. Where was Officer Talmud when you needed him, right? In the heat of a crime, you got to make sure that the police officers are interviewing the Prime Minister of Israel, because God forbid we ever look out for our own people. My name is Elijah Schaefer. We have a great show for you today. I'll be your host. Joining me in the studio is contributor and resident producer Michael Hennessy. Welcome back.
Hey. All right, there we go. Happy to be here. It's a very important topic we're going over today. I know everybody's affected by the fatigue. We're sick and tired of everything just being swept under the rug, stats being changed. So very important episode today.
Yes, and back here today on week 3 of his journey from gay to straight, the author of I Ain't Gay No More, Brandon Sorbo. Welcome back. It's good to see you.
Hey, man, thanks for all the support. It's good to be here. We're really fighting that. Excited to be talking about this topic that I think a lot of us are so incredibly fatigued and tired with, but it's got to be discussed nonetheless.
Yeah. Okay. So we're gonna have some interesting angles. If you've been living under a rock, then your name is Patrick Starr, and you should be at Bikini Bottom. But if you're with us today, let's go to rifttv.com. Where you can get your top articles every single day with trending stories and opinions. This one is by Braden Sorbo. Ooh. Crazy. 23-year-old Ukrainian woman slaughtered by Black career criminal for being white, and that's a strong statement. Can we also start by just pointing out that there's something demonic about the eyes of these repeat offenders?
Oh, every time.
Where they have is it the SSRIs? Are they on like court-ordered medication, or is it the fact that they've sold their soul to the devil and they're possessed by demons?
I think it's the second one. They genuinely don't have souls. I mean, look at the photo of the eyes. He doesn't. There is no life in that.
Bring that up.
It's low IQ, just sold my soul, life is gone.
We should call them low IQs because like EYE. They're
Yes.
like low, they're IQs. That's what they are. It's like they're drooped down. Look, you've got the negative cantle tilt going on here. This is not, I'm not doing it for myself because my face is squished together too, but our skin is different, which is where I have the advantage, meaning because I have freckles, right? So that's what
And
I'm
a
talking
developed
about.
lobe.
Yeah, well, no, but it's, this is the conversation's getting serious about race because it's going from like just the fact of being edgy to like, hey, our girls, our people are being killed, right? And we don't want Rhodesia. We don't want South Africa to happen to our country. But there is something about the rise. Now, this article goes on to explain. Let me see if I can zoom in here. So, Irina Zarutska, is that how you pronounce it? Because that's how I've been pronouncing it.
Irina Zarutska. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Fled a war zone to escape Russian bombs. She thought she found safety in America. Instead, she was butchered on a North Carolina light rail train for the crime of simply existing as a white woman. On August 22nd, the 23-year-old Ukrainian refugee boarded Charlotte Link's Blue Line at 9:46 p.m. Minutes later, a career criminal named DeCarlos Brown Jr., a black 34-year-old homeless man with a rap sheet going back to 2011, pulled out a folding knife and stabbed her in the neck 3 times. She collapsed and died on the floor of a train car in a city she thought would protect her better than Kiev. Brown walked off calmly, only to be arrested at the next station. Video surveillance captured it all. Now we have the edited video surveillance of what happened because they haven't released it. Now this is good news. I've been talking with Tom Hennessy, and we've already been FOIA'd the footage. So one of the goals, we'll talk about the controversy, is we're gonna work together and try to start getting all of the footage, including Austin Metcalf, and releasing it. Not out of insensitivity to the families, but out of the necessity to prevent a race war. So we're going to need to get people angry enough in this country to see what's really going on so that we prevent more violence. So unfortunately, it's the reality. Now check this out. Here's what happens. So she comes in and she sits down. Now let's break down this video piece by piece. By the way, I mentioned we have Mike Mendoza back in the cockpit over there. Mike, this is not to be like make a joke of it, but she made one literal fatal error already at the beginning of this. What was her fatal error? She turned her back to who? To what?
Well, her fatal error was that she relaxed around those
Correct.
who should never be relaxed around.
Never relax when you're around the people who steal your tax. That's the truth.
So true.
Okay, so she sits down here, and like, there's so many things that this is a perfect case for us to use because number one, she's not wearing sexually appealing clothing, so we can't use the she's like whatever asking for it, right? Also, this guy looks already like upset, like he's like, oh damn, a white person. Like he probably told himself, I'm gonna kill the next white person that I see.
Possible.
Yeah.
I don't know if they
Yeah.
have that much forethought though. Do you?
That's actually true.
You know what I mean?
It's true.
It's not really like they premeditate a lot of these things.
Yeah, that's why they get found not guilty in court all the time because they're found to be mentally retarded.
Oh my,
Well, have you
seen
Your
that?
Honor, my client's insane. He didn't have the mental insight to know that this was going to happen when he stabbed the person.
Yeah, the other footage that they released, it kind of sounds like he's saying, which I added on there as well, where he's walking around after he stabbed her and he's saying, I got that white girl.
He got a white girl, yep.
Like, this is something he was saying as he's going through, allegedly.
Yeah, that's
as
why I think
well.
it's the devil. I think the devil hates whites. I think whites represent beauty, and I think that we are the ones that have held Christianity together, and it's sort of like punishment. That's why I think he's used the synagogue of Satan, the Jews, to sort of destroy our countries, and I think he uses black people as sort of a criminal bioweapon, like in our countries. And I don't mean that rudely, because I know many black people who are very kind and very very loving people, but not all of them. But I've always mentioned it's 40%. About 40% of blacks have an IQ that is so low it's unable to function in society, which is why they have to be fed and bathed and provided for. They literally do. You have to pay for their housing, their phones. You have to treat them like children because they have the IQs of a child.
And I think a lot of it has to do, too, is the way the government has gone about this over the years. You know, what they do is they bury crime statistics. Anything that's related to anybody's black or a minority, they don't put it out on the front page. They want to bury it. They don't even want to release names. If a black or a minority runs somebody over the car, they're like, oh, the car did it, you know, gun did it or something else, but never putting blame on the right person. So there's a lot of that. And then also there's the division that's also caused that we run into is where the government says that white people are the most extreme. White people are the worst. Look, they're suppressing you. Look at all the destruction that they're causing. And they create this false narrative that that's how us as white people are when it's not even close to the truth. So I think part of that fuels it as well. And then also what they glorify when you're glorifying music about murdering, drug dealing, and all these other things. And you take that as your culture and think that that's something great. What you're going to do is you're going to get a lot of, bad effects afterwards from glorifying it.
Yeah,
Right.
well, it's like Daryl Brooks, the guy who drove through the Christmas parade. Right? It's the same exact thing. He drove through, he killed a bunch of people, and then it was just recently before that he was let off because, oh, you know, Your Honor, my client can't really do anything, so his bail should be set to $500. Then they let him out, and he plows through a crowd of people.
Yep.
Yeah, and I want to tell you guys something. By the way, obviously talking about this kind of stuff the way that we do, we have to have sponsors on our shows. And obviously we've teamed up with a few new sponsors that we're talking about. And one of those things as we break down what really went wrong here, a reminder to people who are sports fans and go out, if you're ready to be met with confidence right now, MyBookie has got an incredible deal for you. When you opt in, use promo code RIFT, that's R-I-F-T, you'll get your first bet back if it loses up to $500. It's a free way that you can have some fun with the boys. And I always say, if you don't bet, then don't start betting. But if you're like me, I am a betting man. I live my life at high stakes, actually. My entire life is a gamble. But you heard that right. Lose your bet, and MyBookie's got your back with a refund of up to $500. It's the perfect way to jump into the action without worry. Just head to bit.ly/joinwithrift. That's bit.ly/JOINWITHRIFT. Opt in to enter promo code RIFT to claim this offer. Don't miss out. Sign up today at bit.ly/joinwithrift and bet smarter with MyBookie. Terms apply, so check their site for details. Let's get in the game. You can also go to mybookie.com, use promo code RIFT to get $500 back and basically have some free money to use and have a good time. All right, so coming back into this this statement. So she sits down, because if you haven't seen the video, you got a lot of opinions. I want to break down what went wrong in our society here. So she's sitting down. So now he's pulling out the knife.
She's not even interacting with him, paying attention to her phone, and yeah.
So there was nothing there. Like
No,
there was
nothing.
So this is why it's grisly, because this is what you call, like, what the way that the media portrays white on black violence is actually what black on white violence is. Like, I want to remind people, I was attacked by blacks several times. One of the times they were literally just looking for white people to shoot and to attack. And that's why they went after James as well. Last name, what's James?
From
Klug.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah, James
Oh.
Klug. So they were just looking for white people, and they were calling me whitey and they were going to try to kill me. And I was telling that I had like a family at home and stuff. And like I had to literally beg for my life from blacks to not act like animals. And what's crazy is when I tell that story, blacks on the internet mock me like, ha ha ha. Yeah, but they gang up and like, it's the same thing. They randomly attacked me. I wasn't doing anything. Just randomly attacked me, held a gun at me and attacked me. Like I didn't do anything to them, period. I wasn't even bothering them, you know? Yeah, were they looting and stuff? Yeah, but my point is they get in this like aggressive mindset. I've seen it happen to where it's like almost like, I don't mean to make this sexual, but it's almost like somebody dealing with like addiction to jerking off, where it's like, they're just like having a battle with themselves and like don't know how to like not do it. If you've ever had a battle with that in your life, especially if you're a teenager or whatever, you try not to do it. It's like, it's like this crazy like thing where you almost don't know why you do it. And so it's almost like they actually don't know why they're evil. And I think there's something that they have a lower vibration, a lower spiritual agency. And I think they're influenced by dark spirits. I think there's also generational curses from all the voodoo and witchcraft and the ancestry, because you know that all their ancestors like pray to spirits and like ask the spirits to guide their people. And so I think there's like a real dark spirit that leads, like demonically leads a lot of these people, not all of them. This isn't like a complete racial dismissal, because that would kind of be ludicrous or reductionist, but it does seem that there is like a level of like aggression, hate, that also I will say scientifically has been proven to exist, in that there is a receptor issue in a lot of the black population. It's like around 60% of them, to where the way that they reuptake certain hormones and certain neurotransmitters, it causes situations that are not stressful to seem highly stressful. And it causes the reaction is like almost like if you hit someone's knee and you have a reaction, right? This is sort of like an impulse. Where a lot of times like something can be very like simple, like a police officer is just like, can you roll down your window, please? License and registration. And then they have this issue where they go into high stress fight or flight mode, and then they start acting like an animal. And the only place we see that is with other mammals, right? That's not seen in other types of humans except for these people. So you got a real spiritual and genetic component that, like, you see something like this happen, and the reason why it's so powerful is because that reminds you that these people are not like us. You don't see white people acting like this on such a regular basis. I'm sure you could find instances, I'm sure you could find instances where evil people are evil. Serial killers, a lot of white people have committed acts of violence, but just senselessly, unannounced, unaggravated violence, like in such a gruesome way, especially on a target, like on a young white girl. With like, I know this sounds really bad, but like no sexual assault or anything. Like it wasn't even like he was just, like
no, he just went out for violence.
Correct.
And the one thing with her too, her being comfortable sitting down and there, when she came to the U.S., it seems like she kind of bought into a lot of the propaganda that's being put out. I know if you scroll down, we have the photo of her room where she actually had a Black Lives Matter sign in her room. So she pretty much felt she was safe. She didn't have nothing to worry about, believing that whatever the media puts out. And unfortunately, she, the incident happened.
Debunked the theory that she was typing something racist. You saw that? The guy left a comment. He was like, well, she was probably typing something racist, so she deserved it. But the thing is, you have to remember, this isn't necessarily a singular generation issue. I mean, this is an issue that's persisted since this nation started integrating them into society. I mean, when Abraham Lincoln freed the slaves back in the 1860s, the North went into the South and tried to help them integrate into society, and they physically couldn't. And so the Northerners eventually pulled out. They were like, all right, screw this. We can't even deal with these people. We'll just pull out and say that it was a success, even though it wasn't, and that's going to be good enough. And you could see throughout when they came to when they left, nothing good happened. It's why our ancestors had to be forced at gunpoint to integrate. And like you said, it's not reductionist, it's not everybody, but there is a genetic component that certainly plays a part in the development of certain individuals and how they are.
But it's unavoidable now. So this used to be taboo conversations, and what's happening here, like Keith Woods, by the way, had said that he debunked this picture, though.
Oh, I was about to say, I'm just seeing that now too.
So Keith Woods texted me and said about this image supposedly of Irina Zarutska having BLM posters in her room. There's no indication it's her, and it's not present on her social media. The image people are posting crops out the corner girl in the picture, whose room it could be. She does have images on her social media in her room, which looks nothing like this. She entered the U.S. in 2022. It's extremely unlikely that she would be rushing out to buy I Can't Breathe posters 2 years after the summer of Floyd anyway. But also, it could be her in someone else's room, too. Like, it doesn't have to be her room.
Yeah.
So, like, the fact is like, Charlotte's got a lot of liberals. And I was talking to a friend of mine who lives in Charlotte today. He was telling me that they were at an event with his wife on Friday, and she was like kind of wondering why he didn't want to stay in the city and take public transit to the event. And he was saying, like, dude, there's just so many blacks up here, and it's just so violent. Like, you just don't want to be on public transit with blacks. And the wife was kind of like, oh, like, basically like undermining that. And he said it was literally like 4 minutes before this attack happened that they were like contemplating getting on public transit in Charlotte. And that's kind of like the idea of like, people say, why does America not have public transportation? And like, why are the New York subways so bad? It's like because of like, does no one know? It's because of black people. Like,
Yes.
We can't have nice subways because they destroy them and ruin them. And so it's like, we can't have nice things because we want to be nice to these people. You either can have nice things or be nice to blacks. And I think it's being rude to black people because not all blacks are violent. Not all blacks are inherently evil, and not all blacks have committed, atrocious crimes. And the ones that are trying to do good, when you don't punish the bad among them and don't reward the good among them, you know what I mean? Like, hey, maybe we give free phones to the ones that haven't killed anyone. Maybe if no one in your family has killed anyone in 5 years, which I would say my family, no one's killed anyone in 5 years that I know of.
Yeah.
Are you there too?
I think I'm there pretty much.
Well, we'll just leave it there. But I will say, like, not everyone should get free phones, but I don't understand why we're constantly rewarding these people. Because like even the page on this, I don't know if you saw this, but Wikipedia is actively trying to delete the page that's covering this. So they're actively trying to delete it. That is crazy. Because they don't want this stuff out there. And I got to say this. I want to have a discussion on this. Genuinely speaking, the reason why people don't want you to see this is what they're saying is they're genuinely terrified of it blows the lid off of the entire gay liberal democracy that we live in. Because the gay liberal democracy, they've told us, they've pushed us on this progressive journey of desegregation, of forced, first it was desegregation, then it was forced integration, right? So first it was that you can't have freedom of association, then you had to desegregate, so then now you couldn't even have rules against association. Then it became integration. These people are going to be forced into your schools, into your neighborhoods. We're going to put Section 8 housing in your neighborhoods. We're going to bust them into your schools. And then now, when you bring up the fact that it didn't work and it makes life scary, going to gas stations is scary.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
It's like, as a man, it's like, there are gas stations I won't go to. I'll drive past them. I'm like, not going there. You see the sketchiest people going on. You know what I mean?
Well, one thing that didn't help too is every time you have these types of incidents where people, someone gets killed. So, for instance, you had Carmelo Anthony, you have this incident. They always go ahead and whoever's the killer, they create GoFundMes for them.
Yeah.
So it's like, let's prop them up. If anything, if the black community wanted to try to steer away from this to show that it's bad, then a good way is to shut these people down, to shun them, to say what they did was wrong. But instead, what they do all the time is you see them glorify them, come together and say, okay, how can we help them? How can we bring them more money? And you've seen the same thing happen. I mean, luckily enough, the page was taken down, the GoFundMe was taken down, but it's not a good look.
Oh no, it's not. But that's what they're going to keep doing. That's the problem. Is white people are the only group of people in the history of the world that don't have a mentality of let me help the people that look like me first. Every other racial group has racial preference towards people that look like them. You could see it in polling. The Asian people like Asians more than any other race. In fact, they actually had the biggest separation between every other race than any other polled group. So Hispanics, they preferred Hispanics. They preferred black people next. They preferred Asians and white people last. Black people were just the same. Hispanics were next. Asian and white way off the corner. White people were like, we're all the same. It's like, but you're the only group of people that doesn't have in-group preference. Can you see how that's not working? I mean, the average, what was it? The world was like 30% white back in the 1960s. 30%. We're now 7% of the global population.
Do you know why we are? It's not because the population collapsed. It's because we've sent trillions of dollars to Africa to unnaturally feed them, and they multiply.
Yes.
It's all the aid we send to overpopulate like Africa. The only place Africa, do you know, like I was reading, like it's over 83% of like Africa's reliant on some form of Western aid to survive, or they would completely collapse.
Yep.
And so, and the only places that are not are partially the white areas in South Africa, and also some of the major cities that white people built. So it's like this conversation on race is not about just the survival of white people. This is why everyone should listen. It's about the survival of modernity. It's the survival of the global world order. And I don't mean that in a conspiratorial way. I mean this genuinely speaking. It's like the reason why this race war wouldn't work is because whites have fortitude. We're a very resilient group of people. Later on the show, we have a guest on. He's a British commentator, and he's absolutely fantastic. His name, particularly, he goes by the name Hugh Anthony, and he's a really fantastic, well-spoken British chav that he wouldn't let me call him a chav, but he's a I'll say British Chad for this case. This chav's kind of like a seedy thing, but he's a Chad, and he talks a little bit about this too, about the need to lie and to manipulate the information to keep people away from knowing things. Of course, he brings up that stabbing. Remember the little girls at the dance school that happened, and they kept calling him a Welshman.
Yep.
And it turned out he's a psycho fucking black guy. And then they put up pictures of him when he was a kid and said this was him.
I remember that.
He's like 12 and smiling, and he's really this crack addict. And they're just, and why do they do that? Because if you see this crazy black guy, they look like that. They're like, the reason why they look insane is it's God warning you. The reason why you wear your sin on your face is because you can tell when people look crooked or people look messed up. It's a warning sign to say, stay away. It's like a red dot on the backside of a spider, or a bright color on a frog. You go, maybe that's kind of like trying to let me know that I'm in danger, right? This is why it's there. I mean, why do you give scorpions? Why do they look that way? Why do snakes look scary? Because the ones that aren't scary don't look scary. Just like nice little snakes, and the ones that look like they're going to kill you look like they're going to kill you. It's a very nice fight or flight thing that God gave us. But instead, everyone's like, you know what? That guy looks like a black guy that would murder me. Nah, he must just be like Uncle Steve and Auntie May, and must enjoy baking pies. Like, no, he wants to kill you. And the only thing in the way of him not killing you is the fact that they're in Charlotte, and maybe you might shoot him. But the problem is now is you get prosecuted for shooting these people. We could solve this by just letting citizenry take care of shit.
Vigilantes.
Yeah, well, it's like
We see what happened to Daniel Penny, unfortunately. I mean, he stood up. We need more people like that are willing to stand up to it.
But we're not going to get people who are willing to stand up to it. Daniel Penny was prosecuted and persecuted by the world for defending a woman on the subway from the crazy Michael Jackson impersonator crackhead. That's why nobody helped the young white girl when the black dude started pulling out his folding knife. He said, what was he? He was behind her for like 30 minutes on the train before he finally decided to do it. Nobody helped. Nobody helped after. Nobody helped during. Nobody helped before, because we villainize people like Daniel Penny, and we say, if you do the right thing, if you do the good thing, which is help your fellow citizen, you will be punished for it.
But they televise that. That's why they'll televise the prosecution.
Yes.
The McCloskeys who pulled out their guns in Missouri, right? When the Black Lives Matter people came out, they'll put that picture on every front page. If people don't realize this is the truth of the matter, there's a reason why, no pun intended, we buttoned up this show a little bit from slightly offensive, but we've been taking this in a little more of I think this is a good tone for the show in terms of factual, and it's serious what we're talking about, but we'll keep it factual. And I think Rift is going to keep into a point to where I'm willing to talk about anything as long as it's not just opinion based, right? Opinions, you can say whatever you want, but I'm going to keep it facts. And the facts is that there is a coordinated effort to make whites afraid to defend themselves and to create class action. Because did you see the judge who let this guy go, DeMarcus? It's a fat black woman.
Yeah, we have her too.
Yeah.
Let's see.
You're joking.
Yeah, physiognomy never lies, someone said in the chat.
Color me
That's
shocked.
true. Who said that? That was shout out $5 for an air horn. Paul Malone 123 said physiognomy never lies. I think we also have another chat here from the same person. He said, actually, Oops 20 said, I swear to God, every bloody day I'm embarrassed to be black. Every day is an embarrassment. I'm starting to believe forced integration was a mistake. This N-word needs to stop. Dude, listen, I'm with you. This is why
I highlighted it, the one you were talking about.
Yeah, I'm with you on this. Where this is like, it's not that this is an anti-black segment or something like that. What it is there is a serious problem with this race of people everywhere they are in the world, and we need to deal with it. And unless we deal with it, we're not going to give an opportunity for blacks that it could integrate. Now, in Rhodesia, we need to study Rhodesia more. They did allow certain blacks into the city. They just didn't allow them to vote. So they would have certain people who proved themselves through character, through lack of violence, through demeanor that, you could be in. Even back in the day, through slavery, they had a word for them. They were called house ends. It was like somebody you would let around know that you consider to be a civil person that worked for you. And then there were people who were out in the field. Now, that famous picture of that black guy whose back is really torn up, that slave, he tried to rape one of the girls, and then they that's why they took a picture to warn the other blacks. You try to rape one of our girls. Now people say it's everything's totally fake. It's like they were just set up. And it's like, what? I'm starting to think maybe lynchings and all these things were actually not about hatred towards blacks. They were about community policing. Because when they're not community policed here, look at New York. New York had a crackdown with Giuliani. He had to do proactive policing and frisk people, stop and frisk. And then everyone says that's racist. And now you have New York what it is today. And it's like using the word racism is the greatest tool that Jews have created. The Jews have created, the communist Jews, Bolsheviks, said that they were going to come in and that you start to call people. You've seen this, right? Was it Saul? What's his name? The KGB guy came in and said that's
Senselessly?
That's what the KGB
radicals.
That's what they come
45.
in and do. They come in and they start calling the established class names, and then because the established class cares about reputation and honor, and you don't want to be a bad thing, you create a feminine culture of fear where it's like, eventually it backfires like today, where it's like now you're like, you call me a racist, that's cool, that just means I'm not an NPC. It means I'm not lying to my audience, but it doesn't mean I hate anyone. And that's why you call me racist and say I hate people. I call myself racist and say I love people. I love people enough to see that there are races, and by racist means there are differences in the races, and that some races, if you want to achieve the most, you need to revoke your culture and you need to adopt our culture. And most of them will not do that. And that's the difference. It's like, if you want to be a black person and be respected by me, you need to embrace white society and culture, and very few will do that. But if you do that, I will respect you and I will like you because my culture is superior. And I know that it's really hard to accept and to deny who you are. And many will try to and will not be able to escape the genetic presupposition. But at the same time, it's like, I'm not what do you see here? What is a lot of the problems with the white culture? It's they've adopted black culture because Jewish Hollywood moguls have done the same thing. They've made girls like black guys. They've created black pornography to create this fallacy of the large black dick for the whores out there, turning them into whores. They've made the boys wiggers. All these white guys want to rap. What are you rapping? The only time you should be rapping is right before Christmas when you're buying your presents last minute on the 24th and pretending like you actually care about people, getting your credit card so high you don't know how to pay it off after Christmas, but you figure that shit out because you don't want to make your mom, your girlfriend mad. It's true, right?
That is what I've been told.
Yeah.
Dude, the psyop has actually gone so deep. My girlfriend's friend told her, she's like, I don't know, man. I guess they were right when they say once you go black, you never go back. And I'm like, dog, you're literally just falling for the propaganda. That's all it is you're just falling for the propaganda that Saul Alinsky's Rules for Radicals warned us about. I mean, that's why you had all of the the original leaders in the 1950s and 60s for the black movement were all segregationist. It wasn't until MLK came, which was obviously a Jewish psyop, that was like, oh, we need to integrate in society where little black boys and little white girls can all hang out together. Like even back then it was being pushed. But just like who's Bonhoeffer, who was another psyop, that's what MLK was. And that's why deep down, he said all these things and he had these speeches that won a bunch of people over, but he was a terrible person. He was not a good individual. And it really just shows the character that he was really like portraying to the world was nothing but a facade, it was just propped up, and it convinced a lot of people.
Why do you think this movement only happened once we had television and media?
Yeah, exactly.
Because they had to have these things to convince people, because if you're dealing with your real world experiences without programming, also one of the reasons why they want us connected to the internet and not in the real world, because then they can just program us and get us to think the world runs a certain way. When you get out in the real world, you get on a bus, you know what's going on. And I got something to talk to you guys about really fast. So obviously we're partnering with people who are fighting against corruption, and I've got something really cool that you want to check out. It's actually called Return of the Rooftop Koreans. And before you question what this is, so there's a brand new graphic novel. This guy is dropping on Kickstarter. He's reached out to us. He's one of you guys. He's a big fan of the show. He's a rifter, and what he is he's trying to create novels and books that are like anti-woke, right? Particularly if you're like somebody and you're like, that's not for me. Think about for who it's for, right? Remember, not everything's for you. Maybe this is for you. But if you know the history, during the LA riots in 92, when the city was burning and the cops were overwhelmed, Korean American business owners literally had to take to the rooftops with rifles to protect their families and stores. They became legends. The Rooftop Koreans. This book brings the spirit back for a new generation. It's over 140 pages, full color, and tells the story of Ernest Guan, a Korean American store owner who shoots a criminal in self-defense during a robbery. The media twists the truth, LA spirals into chaos, and Ernest is forced to rise up and lead a new generation of rooftop Koreans. It's about survival, family, and standing your ground when no one else will. If you're tired of cancel culture and the people behind it, and you believe in the right to defend yourself and your community, this book is for you. Go to Kickstarter right now. Links, I just got to go to Kickstarter and search Return of the Rooftop Koreans. So literally look up that title, Return of the Rooftop Koreans, and grab your copy today, back it, share it, and experience this one-of-a-kind story. Check out the link in the bio to learn more and support anyway. Back to the show. Honestly, guys, this is a really cool thing. We're just trying to be experimenting here, and this guy's trying to create a series of novels that help, especially teenagers and young adults. You can give your high schooler to read, that kind of teaches them the history of people who fought back against the bullshit. And I think it's very, very cool that he's doing that. And I'm not much of a graphic novelist, but my wife loves graphic novels, and I have a few friends that love them too. So that's for you. I probably should be reading more novels. It's actually probably true than whatever I get up to. So that's actually true. I want to talk about this. So what's crazy is during the time this was happening, while they were getting the police call about this, the Charlotte City Council safety meeting after the murder, they took a break. So after she was stabbed in the neck, I know as a married man, I'm not trying to comment on women's looks, but I'm just saying, she's a really cute girl. You know what I mean? This is a nice little lazy eye, she's no, but it's little things like that are cute on girls, and they just have these little quirks. She's Ukrainian. She's going to bring good genes. She's going to bring good proportions. She's a nice girl. And she doesn't look, she has a bunch of plastic surgery done. She's just a girl before she, fixed the proportions on her face with fillers and plastic. But look at the city council, the safety. Look at the people in charge of safety for the city.
Oh my gosh!
You got dude, look at this. Is a
none of
freaking
these people
alien.
should be allowed to vote. None
That's
of these people should be
alien.
allowed to vote, let alone serve in an office.
Look at that shit.
That's.
I can't even zoom in more. Let me see if I can zoom in more. Let me see. No, I can't even get in more. Dude, you got fat black women. It's just a bunch of fat women. This is the problem with society, is what they care about is cake parties and their outfits. And I don't know if you saw this chart that came out today. There was a recent big study that went on between people who voted for Trump and people who didn't, that were young millennials and Gen Z. Did you see this?
No.
It came out on what they were interested in. And
oh yeah,
and of women who voted for Trump, only 6% of women were interested in starting families and having children. But of men who voted for Trump, 36% said that starting a family and having children was the most important thing. These are people that are I think they're actually Gen Z, so there may be
Gen Z. Yeah,
yeah, there was Gen Z. I think it might have been to 1 year young millennial. So it's like men who are conservative care about like their families, and they even if they're not married, they're thinking about the society. So like this is why you realize with voting, they think about what kind of society would be good for a wife, for my children, what kind of society could I build a family into, and that's how all the guys here think. And women are like, how did I get cake parties? And so like, I'm not joking. That's really what's going on.
Terrible.
So you wonder
This is why
why
they can't be in charge.
Correct. They can't be in charge.
No.
They're like, you'd be like, oh, I'll pay you for a week of work, and they're like, I just want Lululemons. And you're like, if you're gonna nanny, you want Lululemons for a week. That equals out to about $2 an hour. But if that's what you want, because you want Lululemons, you didn't even think about this. I'll take the deal. But at the same time, it's like, then I get a lot of interactions with people like this, and you're like when I hire men, they always tell me what they want. Or they tell me, what do you think is fair? Or they always have a smart answer. Women always go, I don't know.
Yeah. I mean,
Why do you tell me you don't know? You didn't research the position?
she didn't think to go, well, maybe I could use the money I get from hourly pay to buy Lululemons.
Correct.
No way.
But they say, I don't know. They always like,
Mind
I don't
blown.
know.
They have the same, their vote counts the same as yours. That's the part that I have a problem with. Their vote counts the same as yours.
This is not a sexist or racist rant. This is reality, and reality is sexist and racist. And the fact is, people that are, how you're cooked is read the comments on. I'm a big TikToker guy. I like TikTok a lot. I'm a Chinese bot. No, but I like TikTok. I feel like you get a lot of good videos internationally, where American media companies kind of blot it out. You get to see a lot of the good sides of China, a lot of the good sides of Russia. And their hatred towards India. And the nice thing about the world is that we all universally hate India and Indians. It's not a joke.
It's true.
Like everybody does.
Yep. We're in unison on that.
Yeah, so like universally everybody does. Except for Israel, and everyone universally hates Israel except for the United States and India. And everybody doesn't want Indians in their country except for the countries that support Israel. You start to see it all connect together. I'm not happy, guys. I'm not happy. But shout out, make sure that if you're watching on YouTube or on Rumble to like the video, subscribe to the channel so you get the notifications. Turn the notification bell on. What's crazy is we only have like 10,000 subscribers. We also have the same amount of people watching on YouTube as we do on Rumble. Yeah. YouTube, in my opinion, is still the future. It's like, we're going to grow this. Make sure you check it out and also follow Braden on and Snowflake and Mike Mendoza. But anyways, let's continue
close
on.
To 10K.
So President Trump, obviously, we watched it at the beginning. Let's just go ahead and watch it one more time and talk about his response. So President Trump responded to this, which I think is insane. Check this out.
I just give my love and hope to the family of the young woman who was stabbed this morning or last night in Charlotte by a madman, a lunatic. Just got up and started. It's right on the tape. Not really watchable because it's so horrible, but just viciously stabbed. She's just sitting there. So they're evil people. We have to be able to.
Why is it that, what is up with this boomer obsession with like being willing to talk about black crimes so openly without ever being willing to put the responsibility on a racial component? We got Democrat parties,
the thugs.
The boomers ate the propaganda the most. I mean,
CIA, right?
Yeah, they love Israel. They think that we need to go fight all their wars, and they're our greatest ally. They also, everything with the crime that we're seeing now, they kind of pushed out. So, boomers always like to blame us that we screwed everything up, but it's their generation that really dropped the ball.
Well, the funny thing is, it happened a little while ago to my dad where he called a group of BLM looters thugs and animals. And they're like, oh, you're calling black people thugs. And that was sort of his wake up moment. He goes, no, but I guess if they're going to act like thugs and animals, then that's kind of what they reduce themselves down to. Thanks for making my point for me. So I think there is a point where so many boomers have just eaten the slop. But then you have to remember there's a lot of Gen Zers who are pushing for this return. And I think not a lot, but there's a fraction of boomers who are starting to see it, and they don't really know what to do about it, but they know to move out of the way. And I appreciate them the most. Those are the people who are like, thank God, you're going to get out of the way and let me go. That's the least I could ask for, but I'll take it.
Yeah. And someone said, by the way, about the Rumble. I love Rumble. My point was that when we changed our channel name, even if you put a space between Rift and TV, it doesn't pop up. Or like they've made it like it's very hard to search. And when you look up Slightly Offensive, it doesn't show up. Or you look up my name, it doesn't show up. So it's like, it becomes very, very difficult because it's like, there's like really you have to like really do things. And if you type rifttv.com, it doesn't show up. And we've asked and asked and asked to put search queries so it's easier to find the channel. But it's like, you know, it is what it is. I mean, it's just, it is what it is. We'll have to work on that very, very soon because it starts to get a little bit crazy, you know, over time. That being said, in other news that I find to be quite interesting, where is this? One thing that I really liked will be I'll be in El Salvador again. I've been kind of going down there a lot. Nayib Bukele responded to it and said, "You don't hate the media enough," because there were zero stories about this. And Nayib Bukele's entire thing is that these are the people you need to deal with. And I think this is what Trump doesn't understand. It's like you don't win over the hearts of Democrats and universals. You don't get like a 93% approval rating by, unfortunately, like these boomers that are like, this is what I voted for. And it's just some like grandma getting like ripped out of a Home Depot. And it's like, look, I did vote for that. But like, you know what would be really sick is if you went on like a crazy tour to like shut down cities one by one and remove all the gangs from LA, Chicago, and New York. Like, if you just went out, we're like, in Miami, like imagine if you just cleaned up Miami, Chicago, and New York to where like you could go walk around at night with a Rolex on and a girl could walk around in a halter top and you're not going to get raped or mugged. Like everyone would be like, well, I mean, this is kind of crazy. And it's like, oh, well, that's what he's doing in DC and they don't like it. Well, first of all, it's not true that they don't like it. The media is trying to say that, but you actually look at the general response. Even the mayor was saying it's really helped lower the crime.
Pretty positive.
But also, too, they're not really cracking down on the gangs. They're just militarizing it for a show of force. But if they went in and like created a prison and put the people on TV, and the thing about these gang members is like these career criminals, we're saying they look bad. So if you show people, you're like, look at these guys that were taken off the street. You're going, yeesh. I'm glad I didn't see that guy's not on the bus with me today. I'm glad DeMarco Aurelius Jr., the fourth or whatever his name is, I'm glad he ain't out. Because he might be DeMarco Aurelius the fourth, but he's on his 13th conviction. You know what I mean? You have numbers. Their names are based on their conviction rate. It's like DeMarco Aurelius the 13th. You know, just keep naming the kid DeMarco Aurelius so he continues the genetic crime.
Legacy.
Yeah, legacy.
Some of the businesses I found in El Salvador as well, if you came in and you were looking very thuggish and, you know, that type of demeanor, they wouldn't even allow you in some of the bars, the clubs, and some of the restaurants.
Yeah, they wouldn't even allow American blacks in the clubs.
Yeah, they were like, you're not welcome.
If you have
like
tattoos and you're black, and like if you have because of their old culture of gangs, yeah, like if you're a girl and you were like maybe like a stripper or like a slut and you have like some sort of like a trashy tramp stamp or something like that, if that's visible, they would like not let you eat.
That's kind of cool.
Because like they don't want trashy people. They don't want anybody bringing trashy things around. And like if you're in school now, if you're in like high school and you start like a little bully clique with like one friend, they're gonna arrest you. Like physically arrest you for inciting gang violence, like for like starting to bring back gang violence, to teach the kids that this is how it starts in schools. And then because the kids started doing the Edgar haircut to be cool, he outlawed the Edgar haircut.
Yeah, I've seen that too.
And now they all have to have a uniform haircut, the guys do. And everyone's like, this is fascism. And you're like, yes, it is. But also it's cool because he's not saying adults have to. He's saying, he even said, he's like, why did I do it for kids? Because kids are kids and you are told what to do. And if you want to send your kids to state school and the state is more lawful than the people, it's we're coming in to instill law, then your kid needs to dress and have their hair cut. It's no different than Australia has the same thing in public schools. They wear hats and whatnot, you know, and stuff. It's like, you have to wear hats down there. It's really cool. Their uniforms are nice.
Yeah, and it's very safe. I mean, I was walking down the street at night a couple times, and you know, nobody ever bothered me. And you're talking about a place that was like one of the most dangerous places you could ever be. I mean, even some parts where they had their Civil War, like in the older buildings, there's still like little hole marks where, you know, there's shootouts or whatever. But now it's all cleaned up. Now you don't see that at all, and I had no trouble when I was there. So
well, yeah. I think it went down to like, I think, let me play a video here real fast of one of our friends. Because obviously everyone knows my car just got stolen by blacks. But on top of that, you know, I want to play something that like, you know, my car wasn't safe in front of my house. But at least two things. Fox News is admitting that this is how you know the tides are turning. And I don't think, I want to tell you this is two things. People say that Fox is just doing this because they know the right is becoming more right-wing and they're trying to stay relevant. That's actually not true. Everybody knows, Mendoza would know too. Everybody that I know pretty much in right-wing media is way more based and like awake than they let on. They just aren't allowed to be as based as they want to be. Isn't that like, is that kind of true?
Yeah, no, definitely. Once you go to any of these youth events, like to a TPUSA event like AmFest or SAST or whatever, everyone there is way more base than they let on, but they're pretty much just kind of upkeeping the facade so they can still get into these events. And in the case of Fox News, so they can still get invited on Fox News, Newsmax. But I mean, most people won't say it in public, but yeah, they believe the same stuff that we do behind the scenes for sure.
Behind closed doors, they're like Sig Heiling you and like saying Hail Hitler and stuff like that. Like legitimately.
Which I would never do.
Which I would never do
none of us
either.
do. We actually don't condone it.
No, it's horrible stuff.
Unless you have some shots of Grey Goose, then you know.
Well, yeah, but no,
Who knows
dude,
what happens?
I just don't like that guy. I don't like that guy. He was fighting, he was like destroying transgender research facilities, banning pornography, and like getting rid of communists and things like that. And I just got to say, not here, buddy.
No.
Not in this town, buddy. This is a sundown town for Nazis. Okay, you're gonna get the hell out of here with your anti-transgender stuff. Is Riley Gaines a Nazi?
Shit. We broke the first story then. That's crazy.
Dude, that'd be a funny story on Rick. You're all somehow like making funny stories like that. Like Riley Gaines Nazi ? After finding out the Nazis fought to ban transgenderism, the question asks: is Matt Walsh's "What Is a Woman"? Like it's like
Nazi propaganda.
Have like a sign connecting Matt Walsh all the way down to Hitler. Just red arrows. Riley Gaines. It's like, man. All right, check this out. Listen to this. But they're bringing in race.
Now, why would that be? Why would one story demand 100 articles and another story 0 articles? And it's because the media is more interested in the all capitals story, the narrative, than the facts or the truth. Take a look at the difference here. I want to show you the actual truth when it comes to crime. The story is about race. Race. Take a look at the black on white crimes, 385,000 in 2023. The white on black crimes.
Okay, we're gonna stop this here, and we're gonna get super red pilled together.
Let's do it.
So first of all, everyone knows the crime stats are extremely skewed. Okay, we'll probably be showing this on the next show because I can show you some of the data. I can probably link some of it as well in the comments.
Joe put something out on it too.
So you have white on black crime 117,900, and black on white crime 385,000. Now for my per capita strugglers, I'm reminding you that the white population in the United States is about 4 to 5 times the size of black. So if they were equitable, right, then there would probably be about 1.2 to 1.5 million white on black crimes if you were to have equity. However, going into a database, a girl where did I get these numbers earlier? She went into a database and looked at how many of the crimes in major counties and major cities where there was a good amount, like 200 violent white on, black. Because we can't go to every city everywhere, but just these big cities. Where were there white on black crimes? And looking at the people, and she looked at them. Let me see if I can get this here. And there's so many pages of this. Like if you look at the Texas offenders website with racial, like here's just 4 people in a row. They're not just white Hispanic. They're labeled as white non-Hispanic. So they're not even labeled. The amount of, I looked this up myself too, and the violence towards racial statistics, even they count the white Latinos as white. So actually, anyone who's half white or like a colonizer's offspring is considered white. And if you look at the amount of criminal gun deaths, it ends up being, I don't know the exact number I was calculating in my head earlier, but if you look at this. We'll make this a very figurative number so people can't get crazy and try to debunk me. But let's just say 55% of violent crime in general is due to gangs. So let's just say you even take that it's Latino versus black and black on black. So let's just say that you even take this. They were saying the majority of these Latino on black deaths I was reading are gang related. So let's just say, and I looked up how many gang related deaths there were between Latinos and blacks. Maybe 55, 60,000 of these attacks are, related to actual Latinos committing crime. So then you're down to 65,000 acts of violence. And then I looked at trends of what kind of violent crimes whites commit. And there's very, very few unaggravated attacks. Almost every attack from white people is on someone they know. It was over 90%. And I mean this genuinely. Even look at the school shootings. They always went there. They always knew the people. They had some revenge. And those are transgender shooters. But a lot of these, apparently, if you look at the cases, people were breaking down the cases. It's you have a black guy rape a guy's sister. So then he goes and kills him, and it's like excessive use of force homicide, but it's like 3rd-degree homicide because it's like retaliation, you know, for like a felony crime. So then it's like, yeah, that's like a white on black crime. But they don't mention the fact that he raped his sister, or maybe because even if I got let off, you know, if they're stealing my car and I shot them, right, that's going to go down. It's probably going to go to trial as like manslaughter or something like that, or it might even be legal manslaughter. But whatever, this is all going to be considered crimes. So, but it's like because they're committing crimes, a lot of people get shot while robbing as well. Store owners shoot the robbers. And you also realize too, maybe sometimes people are career criminals and they get shot like trespassing and stuff. So when you really look at white on black crime, I'm sure there's a few. Let's say maybe there's a few thousand that are like pretty like retarded. And I would say those are probably like low IQ, could be drug deals gone wrong. Black people are pretty damn safe around white people. And if you look at the black on white crime, it's a lot of it's random attacks, drive-bys. Mm-hmm. It's drive-bys. And I got to ask myself the question this as well. How much are blacks and whites, are they including white Hispanics and white Latinos in the black on white crime on the reverse? So are they only including Latinos and Hispanics when they commit a crime, but when they're the victim of a crime? Because look, unknown on white, see this weird number? Unknown. There's an extra 600,000, there's unknown race.
So 1 million attacks on white people per year.
Yeah, but they don't know the race. So they don't know the race of 600,000 attacks on white people? That's interesting. There's no understanding of the race of that.
Yeah, that's fishy.
And unknown on black. Are they reducing the amount of Latino deaths? Like, what are they? Why is the unknown about 800, 900,000? How do you not know the race or ethnicity of people when you record it in the data banks? Oh, maybe they're intentionally neglecting it. Yes, that's probably true. They're intentionally not reporting it. But then why? It's not. If it could make whites look bad, they'd be reporting it. So these are the most skewed data you could possibly get to make whites look bad, and it still makes us look extremely peaceful. I think this is a damn near perverted way of skewing, whatever, because as I mentioned, even if you remove Latino and black crime, we still become safer than Norway without their immigrants back when they were actually a safe country.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
But if you think about, these countries, I don't know of any instance even now when you go to an all-white town where where's the crime in Coeur d'Alene? If there's really this amount of white crime, where's the crime in Coeur d'Alene? Where's the crime in New Hampshire? Every state that's almost majority white, there's basically no crime, and they're one of the safest places ever. I don't think white people are naturally attackers. I think that we go to colonize and spread our energy, spread our seed, and we go to civilize the world, that we are set out to bring modernization to the world. But I do not think at all that we are inherently in a modern development, violent people within our own communities. We could be outside, like there's clan wars and whatnot, but whites together in homogeneity, we have no reason to fight. That's my opinion.
Yeah, it's true. But we also have to remember with these numbers being reported, like 40% of municipalities since 2021 aren't reporting their numbers to the FBI. Someone left a comment about that. The UCR is woefully inadequate. The Federalist and other sources report the data problems. And so it's more than just what Fox is showing, because that was a number from 2023. And so you got to realize the numbers are actually worse than what you're seeing. They're fudging the numbers that they do get. And then you have almost half of the municipalities not reporting anything to the FBI to begin with. And so the numbers are probably a lot worse than what Fox is showing us even to begin with.
But that's why the unknown, we never even bring that up. That's why they brought that up, to show you hey, there's like another 600,000 crimes on whites that they're just not even reporting. So that's 1 million violent crimes a year conducted and reported, right? It doesn't include like unreported. Like I didn't have an official police report for getting, they wouldn't even take one for getting jumped by blacks. How many guys are just jumped by black people? White guys are assaulted and you just move on with your life because, like how many, and how many are avoidable? Like I didn't get hurt stealing my car, but I could have been hurt. And I'm not dumb with that way. I mean, that's an easy way they'll shoot someone to carjack you. Also, I found one of their groups. I'm turning into the police, by the way. I found one of their Telegram groups. Investigative journalism background here. I found where they're selling their cars that they're stealing. I have an incredible group, and I got into it. And they're selling like a Urus right now for $8,000 because someone thought So I got into one here in Miami, and I can see where their stuff is. So I'm going to the police department on Wednesday, and I'm showing them that I found one of their chop shop sites where they're illegally selling cars on Telegram here in Miami, and they're nabbing so many cars. It's like I'm coming after the blacks. I'm coming after you guys.
Lamborghini Urus for $8,000 is crazy.
But it's stolen.
Yeah, you just never get pulled over.
Yeah, well, that's why.
GG,
no, you buy it and ship it. You'd have a shipping company and buy it. Like that's why you ship it out of the country.
Fair.
I know you mentioned why crime is down. If you actually go on the document a little bit towards the bottom, it's highlighted. They had an incident in California where this guy, black guy, came up, started attacking two people that had, camera equipment, were just breaking their equipment. And since they didn't destroy enough of, the equipment that to reach a certain value that
Like
the police said,
$850 or whatever.
yeah, they're like,
I
"We're
know.
not gonna
I
do
know
that."
these people.
So for a battery, it's going to be a private person's arrest, okay? So we're not going to be arresting him. The way that it works is because it's a misdemeanor not committed in my presence. You're going to be signing that private person's arrest, and you're going to be the one going to court and testifying against him.
To arrest him.
To arrest him. So if you're not willing to go to court, there's really no...
For property damage and battery?
So battery is a misdemeanor. The property, if it's under $400, it's still a misdemeanor.
Is that LA County or is that all California?
It's all California.
That's insane.
Guys, the police are impotent in California. Let's just move. They can't do anything. It's Los Angeles police. They can't do anything about anything. Listen, actually, I had to walk up and stand between that guy and violently assaulting them because police can't do anything. You guys are impotent to actually do justice because the state of your culture is such that people run and do evil every minute of every day.
That's fine, but I'm trying to do my job, okay? And I'm explaining to you.
Yeah, you can't do your job. You've been given a sword to do justice, to protect innocent people, but you can't do it because of the state of the culture.
I actually know the people who are filming that video. That's Abolitionists Rising, I think is the name of the group. They're a pro-life organization. And so they literally just stand there peacefully with signs about like, here's why supporting life is important. And that black dude just walked up and started assaulting them. He started breaking stuff. He started yelling about how he's famous and they should be paying him to be on camera. And so the guy at the very end talking actually went up and intervened in the middle. He, like he said in the video, he stood in between them. He goes, no, you need to get out. But the guy kept pushing. He kept assaulting. And just because the cop wasn't present when it happened, nothing gets done.
Yeah, and we see that time and time again where they're just changing the laws. I mean, California is a perfect example. When people were looting the stores, you had to steal a certain amount in order to take them in. And we've seen it in many other places as well where they fight and they say, well, everything is racist. If you're, any way that we try to pretty much hold them accountable, then you're just being racist. And we've seen that in multiple states.
Accountability really is... I think black people must be allergic to it because they never. What's it? Ashamed by everything,
Ashamed of nothing, offended by everything.
That's it. Thank you. Ashamed of nothing, offended by everything. I mean, it really is sad. I'm so glad I moved out of California. I'm sure you are too. As much as it's like it sucks to leave a beautiful state.
Yeah, but that's what sucks about these places. Is it's like imagine like, and the voting is because you see the city council in Charlotte. It's like it's not fixable. Without some sort of a great collapse. It's really not. And by the way, remember guys, especially when it comes to your testosterone levels, you gotta have your T up, man. You gotta have it up because your testosterone, you might think that you're walking around and you have a beard and you're like, your beer. You might also have your beer gut. And actually, too much beer actually lowers your T. And from 6 a.m. to lights out, life asks a lot actually. And if low T signs are holding you back, less power in your lifts, less patience at work, less spark at home, Man's Edge helps you take control. Now, this multi-ingredient formula supports healthy testosterone and daily vitality. It has all the ingredients that you love: fenugreek, tongadoli, tribulus, NO2 support for blood flow, and deer antler velvet IGF-1 for recovery, so you feel focused, strong, and confident. Consistency wins. Even if you're on TRT, Man's Edge can complement your regimen by supporting how your body uses testosterone. Join thousands of men taking back their day. Lock in 50% off at AutoShip when you click AutoShip at checkout at ElijahIGF1.com. That's ELIJAHIGF, the number 1.com. Use code Elijah for an additional 10% off your first order. Man's Edge, because we're going to make men again. And also, it actually does help, even if you're taking TRT, it helps with the regulation of your testosterone, how your body uses it. So it's a great thing to add to your regimen no matter what you're doing. And it's fantastic, can help with your libido and your energy. It's just good stuff. It's got a patented formula that it has a carbon delivery system under your tongue, and I actually take it every day, and it's been fantastic, and I really do love it. So check it out. All right, so that is kind of crazy. When we talk about all this mob stuff, the thing is that we live in a lawless society, and it's intentional. Mm-hmm. And I brought up a theory of why is it intentional, and I think it's like I think we're just going through another 9/11 in slow motion, right? It feels like. It feels like we're going through, they create a terrorist act It creates panic and fear. And then they get us involved in a war for justice, but at the same time, they throw in their war with Iraq, which was totally a neocon subversion. Don't worry, guys, we didn't forget about the book club. The book club's returning. We just had a lot of crazy stuff go on here, and so we had to reshuffle the schedule. So we're going to finish that book, and then we'll continue reading our books. If you didn't finish it already, you should. So it's like Where the Right Went Wrong by Buchanan.
Oh, we're still on that?
Yeah, well, we had to take a pause from that and the other show to get all the other shows started. So
okay.
I was doing too many shows a week to start our 4 new shows that we're starting in 2 months, and now we're like on a good track record, and everything's kind of launching. In a couple weeks, we got our White House show launching, yada yada yada. So yeah, and I had to do a bunch of traveling to El Salvador to kind of secure the future of our company as well. A lot of fundraising and stuff, but. That being said, he talks about that. So they got the war they wanted. Right? They threw in a multi-trillion dollar war, $20 trillion war out of our fear. And then they kept allowing terrorists in through displacement so that they would commit ISIS attacks in all of our countries so that we could expand our strikes into Syria, right? And expand our strikes into Yemen. And so I think that they're allowing the chaos so that this happens, so that people want a police state, because we do. We're like, we need fascism, but the fascism they're going to offer us is probably just like Palmer Luckey or Peter Thiel, probably one of them. Yeah, probably Palantir. It's like we're gonna need data recognition because we don't want career criminals on the streets. So we have to be able to track their faces and know where they're at. And you want to know if a judge releases them, then at least the federal government can put cameras up and can tell you where they are and warn you if they're around you. Like, you see how this can happen, and it sounds good, but it's by corrupt Zionists. So. They have Israel's intentions in mind and heart, and then it'll start to be used to track anti-Semitism and actually thwart the far right from rising up. So you'll get safety under democratic control. Don't think I'm telling the truth? Go to the Northeast. It's safe and it's white and it's democratic. In fact, it's actually nicer than most red states.
Yeah.
So Democrats is not the problem. It's not the problem are Democrats. The problem is women voting and minorities. Because even with white women voting, it works if there's no minorities around. Life is still peaceful.
Barely.
Well, in New Hampshire, it's still peaceful.
It's true. It is more peaceful, but you're just going to keep getting more and more of this push towards this not socialist, but this more, I don't know, liberal feminist world. And that's eventually going to turn really negative really quickly. I mean, that's why it's as nice as it is, you don't have as much crime. You don't have higher rates of happiness. There's actually a jump in rates of depression, PTSD, anxiety, medications people are on heavily, like SSRIs. So it's sort of like a pick and choose, although I would pick a majority white state over non-one.
Also, someone said that Sarah Stock should have a show called Sarah's Silent Pie Baking.
There's a lot of Sarah Stock comments right now.
She doesn't talk.
I didn't know where they came up.
I don't know where that came from.
No.
Dude, that just blew up. It was crazy.
It just blew up the chat.
It seems like they're missing her a lot.
Yeah, well, by the way, we're gonna go to our interview here with our guest. We have a guest that's coming on all the way from the United Kingdom. He's a rising star named Hugh Anthony. He's fighting against the immigrant movement in Britannia, and he wants basically a return back to a stable society, right, led by Anglos in his country. And I think, as much as America is a country, made by colonizers, which is true, we're not immigrants, we're colonizers. There has been a lot of argument over, the United States on what kind of ethnicity are we? And we've, fought over, whether we're going to be, we have the Germans in the Midwest and the Anglos, the Celts in the Northeast, and the Irish had a hard time, integrating, yada, yada. But then we sort of realized that the founding fathers said of good men of white skin, white men of good character, that's what he meant. It was just a universal European togetherness. Now we have a very broad definition of white, right, Mendoza? We got Southern Europeans, we got South Southern Europeans, we got Southeast Cuban Europeans.
True.
Sorry, the comments are killing me.
Like we have.
That was being sarcastic, obviously.
I just went there. So there's wow. Okay, so there's that. But I was gonna say, so make sure that you stick around because this is a really great interview, and I'm very, very happy to have him on. I think this is his first, sort of mainstream American podcast to go on. So good for him as well. We like to find people when they're small, and like new to the scene, because you're gonna see this guy around a lot more. And so, I always like to be like, oh yeah, remember we had you back on in 2025, and it's like 5 years from now, and he's like, in a political office leading, and that's kind of how we stick around. We like to find the little guys with the right message that are doing the right thing. But before we jump into him, Henny, if people want to find you and follow you, how can they support you and follow you on the internet?
Awesome. You can find me on X as well as Instagram at snowflake_news. I'd love for you to come check out the page.
Yeah, someone said Elijah hires all types of honorary Aryans. we should get her a shirt that says like a little badge that says honorary Aryan, like a Mormon badge, like in the same font where it's like Brother Joseph or whatever. Sister Anna, honorary Aryan. Oh man. Well, so how can people find and follow you, Braden?
At Braden Sorbo on any and every social media platform, specifically X, trying to grow that, about to hit 10K, which is very nice. Get the book, sorbostudios.com.
And Mendoza.
Yeah, speaking of honorary Aryans, you can find me online at Mike Mendoza JPG. Follow me there on Instagram, and yes, that's about it.
Yep, and you can follow me at Elijah Schaefer wherever you can find me, and also you can find the Rift TV. We're on Instagram, we're on Telegram, we're on X. I prefer you to follow that. I'm not really trying to grow any of my personal socials these days, to be completely honest. Just going to work on this and get your articles at rifttv.com. Anyways, we're going to cut to a quick 1 minute break, and we'll be right back with our interview with our good guest over in Britannia. We'll be right back. Prioritize Britain movement, where he focuses on outspoken language regarding remigration, which we'll discuss what that is. He's also built a significant following on his X platform very quickly, with a focus on addressing what he sees as media bias and the cultural impacts of immigration of third worlders. He engages in fiery discussions about the future of England and its identity. He's very proud of his heritage, who he is, his history, and the genetics that his parents gave him, which he sees as being something to be proud of, not to be ashamed of. And the implications for England and the choices they've made are destroying people and leading to the deaths of white young women and men across the world, including Irina Zarutska, who was recently a Ukrainian refugee who was killed by a black man in the U.S. This is what we're seeing. Not solving the problems is leading to deaths. Hugh, welcome to the Rift. It's good to have you on.
Thank you very much for having me. I do appreciate it. Yeah, you're completely right. We're seeing it all over the place. We're seeing it in every major civilization, which has been predominantly built by the white people, is now being invaded by the third world, and we have to sit back and accept it. But I think we're coming to an end of that acceptance, and we're now beginning to fight back.
Yeah, so let's start a little casually here, because getting into your background, you seem young. Age doesn't really matter. I kind of want to know, it's how old are you, and sort of what led you to not just go to parties and take Molly and go with the flow of kumbaya, and actually dress like a becoming gentleman, present yourself with respect, and decide to take on the universal democratic movement, the civic nationalist movement that quite frankly wants us jailed or dead. I mean, this is a big jump for you, man. So where do you come from? What's your motivation to do this?
So I'm from the north of England, actually. The north of England has been heavily annihilated by globalist policies and third world immigration. I'm 22 years old, and I just decided I don't want to be like the rest of them. I don't want to be like the rest of the people my age, going out, getting drunk all the time, doing drugs, having casual sex, X, Y, and Z. I thought immorality is not going to save anything. It's not going to help anybody. I've always been interested in politics. I would say that maybe during the beginning of Trump's run in 2016, I was more of a neoconservative. And as the years have gone on and I've been more tolerant of things, I've become quite intolerant of them. I've watched the demographics change within my own country. I live in a very big city in the UK, which is now minority white. And I just see the destruction everywhere happening from the policies that go into it. So I thought I either carry on and accept it, or eventually I stand up and I say something about it. And I chose to stand up and say something about it.
Yeah, so obviously you guys have a lot of restrictions in the UK right now on speech. It's a particularly dangerous time to be saying the things that you're saying. As I even just saw one woman who's sentenced to 9 months for some slightly racially insensitive things she said on the X platform. But talking about this, I mean, what do you think the legality is right now of what you're saying? I mean, what is your framing in your mission? And how are you working on presenting that in a way that doesn't violate the laws, the hate speech laws, and actually can go out on the internet and reach the people?
So I think the big issue is, especially when it comes to our laws, we don't need intent to be prosecuted. You can be prosecuted for anything that can be perceived as being grossly offensive. Now, there's a big difference you have to do. We can state a fact like this country was built on the native white people, but you have to make sure it's classified as a fact and not an opinion. If it's an opinion, you're going to fall into a gray area where if somebody decides to get offended by that, the law may have to intervene. I think we are in a bit of a negative time where, for example, our own government is now putting it out to be an ethno-nationalist, to say that the native people of this country should be respected. Now a culture and heritage needs to be dominant within this country. You are now seen as holding an extremist terrorist ideology by your own government. And I think, frankly, that's traitorous. So it's about getting the messaging out, but doing it in such a way that you're not saying it as a subjective opinion, but an objective fact.
Right. So let me ask you about this unification. Obviously, you have pretty strong stances on what the solutions are for the United Kingdom. You know, you guys across the pond mock the United States relentlessly in all of European countries. I'm pretty well traveled individual, and I know that, you know, we're perceived as being dangerous or this or that, but really when you remove Black and Hispanic crime from the United States, we're actually safer than Norway. So in fact, we just have been struggling with diversity a bit longer than your guys' countries have, to great extents. Our country goes through to feed these people, ensure their reproduction and proliferation and forced integration, which we suffer with. And so we feel for you when we see what's going on in the kingdom. You know, brother wars aside, we now feel a unifying threat. So between the Welsh, the Scottish, the Irish, the English, in Britain in general, what is it like, the sentiment of a young white man there? Are people feeling the same things? This is an exclusive issue to, let's say, England and Irish young men have a dissimilar focus. What are we looking at here over there in terms of a young white man unifying to actually remigrate these immigrants?
I think what you're looking at is a group of young people that are just sick to death of being hounded continuously by the media, by the educational system, by the foreigners in this country, telling us that, well, you can't think that way because you're a racist. You can't think that way because you're an Islamophobe or a xenophobe or X, Y, and Z. And it's a rebellion. It's a rebellion for the perspiration of our own identity. We want to look after our heritage. We're told, well, we fought these wars and we won these wars. And we look back on pictures of our family with their uniforms on serving in these wars. And we look at our streets nowadays and go, well, is this what my great granddad died for? I don't think so. So I think it's a rebellion of young men that want to preserve their own identity without having to feel ashamed by it. And I think this is the thing with tolerance. The more we have to tolerate other people and the media telling you can't be a man, you can't be proud of this, you can't be a proud woman of these things, you don't need to have a big family, you need to go out and do drugs and all of that and join in with the immorality. People are eventually going to become intolerant of that and go, enough is enough. This is my country. This is my homeland. We're not going to be dictated to by you people that don't even belong here. You were allowed here by horrible government policy. You can go home. We're going to preserve this nation.
So yeah, but how do you go in accomplishing that without being labeled, you know, abhorrently racist? Because, and quite to be quite honest, I won't put words in your mouth, but I mean, it seems like you kind of have to be racist today in order to survive. So it's like they're asking you and condemning you for taking a solutionary position. How do you reconcile that?
I think you have to differentiate. It's not a hatred of people for who they are, but it's a love for your own country. It's a love for your own heritage. I don't hate other people for the fact that they were born with a different color skin or they born with different heritage. What I do is love my own country, love my own heritage and my own land enough to want to preserve that. And that comes at the expense of having to remove these people. It's not the nicest thing to say, but it's the honest thing to say. So I think we are going to be called racist and whatnot. You have to take it with a chip on your shoulder because everything can be classified as racist, because they would never say this if it was happening to a white nation. If we were being replaced, they don't care. They're not going to call them racist for replacing us, but we get called racist if we wish to remove the replacement on ourselves. You have to be able to take it with a chip on your shoulder and realize that at the end of the day, you don't hate anybody. You just love your people more.
Yeah, so let's talk about your position on foreign intervention, the U.S.'s role, Israel's role, and Ukraine's role right now in creating a destabilization in the Middle East. Obviously, Netanyahu's voiced the Greater Israel Project pretty extensively, to which we've pretty much invaded every single country with a military arbitrage, besides Saudi Arabia, though you could say they're already conquered because, obviously we threatened to invade them if they didn't allow our bases on there to launch wars against the rest of the countries, which they complied. We just recently bombed Iran, and it looks like the UK is talking about letting in Gazans into the country. And a lot of the individuals in the United Kingdom are from North Africa and the Middle East in areas destabilized by foreign Western intervention. What do you say to the critics who try to tell you that you're a bigot, that the reason why these people don't have a home is because of the West, because of our actions, and therefore it's our responsibility to take them in, and that's what your contemporaries are saying to you. I have seen it. How do you reconcile that conversation? What's your response?
Well, I don't think it's the responsibility of the average British person to have to deal with the consequences of war. Now, a lot of these wars are not perpetrated by us. I guarantee you, if we had the chance to go, do I want my taxpayers' money going to bombing innocent people in Gaza? We'd say, no, I don't want that. Most people wouldn't want that. But we have to bear the front of a refugee crisis. I mean, even if you look at things like Israel, they don't take in any refugees. We have to take in the refugees. We're now taking in Gazans into our university. We had a study come out saying, yes, we are going to be taking in Gazans into our university, which is going to clog up more space in our country. Why are we having to deal with that kind of outcome? We don't ask this. Actually, a lot of the British, we're not interventionists. We don't want to have to deal with these factors, but we're having to pay the price, whilst our politicians sit there with 3 different households jetting off to Malta or Cyprus for a holiday, ignoring the destruction they're doing to our small towns and villages. Because a lot of the places these people are being shoved in the hotels, in the council housing, are small towns and villages, and it's hurting the local communities. So I think what I say to that is, frankly, we don't want these wars either. It's not our fault.
Yeah, so let's talk about replacement migration and the way that towns and villages are voting democratically against having these refugee centers in hotels, but the government is often suing the owners, suing the councils, and even just directly overriding the local authority. Do you think that's an intentional way to spread these people, or why do you think they're doing that? Because it's very confusing from this side of the ocean.
Yes, I would say people like to call us conspiracy nut jobs for saying about the replacement theory. Even look at London. London is now 36.8% in white Brit. Actually, it's probably less than that because that was from the 2021 census. I would say that, yes, they are replacing us. If you look at our natural demographic, we're now 74.4% native white Brit. We were 99.9% in 1951. It's quite obvious we're being replaced. And if you look at who owns the hotels, most of the hotels, the Britannia hotels, are owned by this Jewish man that is from Jewish immigrants as a background, and he's been buying them up and calls himself the asylum king of the hotels. And then if you look at the one in Epping, which started all of the protests, that was owned by 2 Indian brothers that are also of immigrant descent and whatnot. These people are not British, and they're not working for the British. The government is allowing them to sue them to keep them in these hotels for the economic benefit of the lobbyists, and the lobbyists are the big business that want the cheap labor. Even Uber Eats has now come out and said, well, the prices are going to go up because we can't be hiring illegal migrants anymore. Meaning, oh, so we are hiring them for benefit of our economics at the expense of you. And that is just the grand picture of it, really.
Yeah, it's the GDP goes up argument that I think a lot of people are disenfranchised with. Myself, I haven't been the most moral individual. Like a lot of millennials, I chose more of a pathway of degeneracy and sort of found out through the hard work of trying to live with peace and live like that you quite frankly just cannot live in unfettered immorality. Right? It's not a conducive lifestyle towards accomplishing anything personally. And unlike most of my friends and people, I'm like one of the few people I know that's like married with kids and chose to leave that, or as I call myself, a recovering degenerate. How much do you blame the state and position of morality amongst Gen Z and millennials for the politics? So is the culture downstream of politics in Britain, or are politics downstream from the culture?
I would say that the politics are downstream from the culture. The cultural factors of this country, especially since the World War, have not been so much of self-preservation or a form of responsibility. And I think you can just see that just by comparing the foreigners that we import over. They have strong sense of responsibility, strong work ethics. They go, well, the British people don't want to do these jobs. Well, they don't have the strong work ethic to because they're lazy. They don't believe in that. They believe, oh, I'll sit back, I'll go on a jet-to holiday, get a fake tan, and not have kids until my late 30s or whatever it be. I think that our immorality in this country has been spread through our universities, through our media, through social media. We don't have serotonin. Mental health issues are on the increase. Things like the LGBT cult, which is now spreading their immorality throughout our country. These factors are now leading to politics where they're going, oh, yeah, but you're now going to harm my lifestyle. And I think that's the issue. They don't want their lifestyle to be harmed. So they think, oh, well, if I'm not accepting of all these things, then I'm a bigot. And if I'm a bigot, then I'm part of this nasty far-right neo-Nazi X, Y, and Z kind of group. And I don't want to be that because I'm this progressive, vegan, whatever it is. And that's just leading to this situation where our politics continue to be degraded because they're unwilling to realize their immorality is pushing them deeper and deeper into the pits of hell.
Right. I think it's an interesting juxtaposition because, one thing I want to talk to you about is the state of Western civilization and why you've decided that remigration is the only solution. People that criticize your stance as being, xenophobic will state that, there's obviously already there's a problem with crime, white on white crime, right? I mean, white Brits do commit a decent amount of crime. There's obviously sports hooligans and some rowdiness. The boys will always be the boys. Is sometimes testosterone mixed with alcohol leads to bad choices, bad behavior, and that's not to be excused in society. But it seems like because the argument is that we can't send these people back because they come from war-torn areas. They need to stay here because even if they're criminals, the whites commit crimes too. But at the same time, it looks like a lot of the people in the Britons, particularly, are actually coming from other countries already. They're not coming directly from Tunisia. They're not coming directly from Morocco. It seems like they're already reaching the shores of France. How is there? What is the conversation like to justify so many useless individuals coming into a country when they already step foot in a democratic, asylum-based nation like France?
So I think there's a few arguments that people like to lob at us. One of them being the colonialist argument. Well, you colonized the world, so you deserve this, which I find awfully weird because they understand that colonialization is bad in their point of view. And then they say, well, they're colonizing you now, which would mean that they're doing something bad to the country you want them to seek refuge in. But I think people like the argument of, oh, well, it's accepting there are no borders. We're humanity. They live in this fallacy that people are all the exact same. They ignore the fact that certain cultures are more degenerate compared to other cultures. Some cultures are more evil compared to other cultures. They just think that, well, if you're a human being, you have the right to do whatever you want and go wherever you want. They sit here and they say, well, our welfare system's good, so they should be able to benefit off of us. Or it's not a problem they're in hotels or committing all this crime because they need our support. We are all humans. And you see them sat outside of hotels. You can see the sign behind me. I actually grabbed this from one of the protests. It says, refugees and migrants welcome here. And this is what they keep going on about. It's not actually about the native people. They don't talk about the native population or what's happening to us. They just talk about the refugees. And all they actually care about is allowing as many people here for the sake of being liberal and accepting, not being logical.
That's a really interesting point you bring up about not caring about the people. We had an interesting interaction here. I'm sure you're familiar with it, of a young Ukrainian refugee named Irina Zarutska, if you pronounce that correctly, in Charlotte, North Carolina, on a train. And Axios Today, which is one of our mainstream media news outlets, finally decided to cover the story after she was brutally murdered by a black man in an unprovoked attack. That it was such a brutal attack that 100 journalists were given the story and only 2 chose to publish it, and no one chose to publish the footage. I'll let you know that me and my friends have already done FOIA requests to receive the footage, and unbeknownst to the people's criticisms, we are going to attempt to try to start publishing on large outlets the footage of whites being targeted and killed by these people and raped, of course with like some minor censoring and whatnot to follow laws and to be somewhat sensitive to the families, but realizing that, hey, they are not showing us this. When they showed us 17 minutes of George Floyd dying each breath, they don't mind showing you Holocaust imagery when you're 4 years old of people being shot, and they don't mind showing you any type of violence, but they don't want to show you your own people being exterminated. When Axios covered it, they said, grisly Charlotte stabbing video fuels MAGA's crime message. No mention about race, no mention about unprovoked attack, just said that there was something kind of grisly that went on, and it's feeding into MAGA, MAGA's opinion on crime. My question to you is, there's increasing crime in Britain. Do you, A, think that's directly related towards this new multiculturalism, and B, is there any way to solve the crime issue with integration, or do you think, why do you think remigration is the only solution to the crime problem?
Sure, there is definitely an increase in problems. Even if you look at the rape statistics, they've increased by hundreds of folds over the last 30 years. I mean, it's the same thing with our media here. If you look at the Southport attacks last year that happened, where a young man, a young black man, stabbed multiple little girls at a dance class, they hid the man's ethnicity. They wouldn't say it. They called it far-right propaganda, spreading misinformation all over the internet. This keeps happening where they're hiding ethnicities. The Rotherham rape gangs, they hid 66% of the ethnicities because they didn't want negative public reaction. They hide it because they know it's a problem. These people cannot integrate, because to integrate, they have to reject their culture. And to reject their culture is to go against their lineage, and they're not going to do that. They have a very strong attachment to their lineage. You see it with Pakistanis, you see it with the Africans. They appreciate where they came from. They cannot integrate. They should not integrate, because they will never be a part of our society. They will either be rejected by our community because they are not like us, or they will be rejected by their own community because they move too far away from them. It is literally impossible. So the idea of multiculturalism is a fallacy. It doesn't work. It never has worked. We have our own culture. We have our own people. That's all we need. So the only way forward is to remigrate these people out of here, because we have seen over the last nearly 100 years, it is not working. It is not going to work. It is only going to get worse.
Right. So obviously the government has responded with the turmoil as white British citizens, depending on which country you're even in, have started fighting back. There was recent riots that had broken out in response to some of this crime, and the people who allegedly rioted were punished. People that were even in proximity or showed video footage of what was going on. What do you think it is, and who do you think's behind the government betrayal in terms of prosecuting, as we saw, even codifying the fact that there would be stricter prison sentences for young white men rather than young brown men in their own country? Who's behind this genuinely? And why do I have this striking suspicion that Nigel Farage isn't going to be the one to fix this?
So I think there's a few things that are behind it. I think that, one, you've got to look at the government statistics. If they keep publishing statistics that prove that, for example, black men are committing crime at a higher rate, or Asian men are committing crime at a higher rate, that is going to annoy the public. You can see it through the media with them hiding the ethnicity of rape gangs, because they know what we know. It is the foreign men that are doing it. They just don't want to admit it to us. I think it's in the government's interest to hide these things so they can continue to gain their economic benefit from their cheap labor. No, Nigel Farage is not going to solve it. His right-hand man was a Muslim man called Zia Yusuf. Zia Yusuf is a descendant of immigrants. Of course, he's not going to be bothered about immigrants coming over. In fact, he will say, well, we got to stop the illegal ones, but we find with the swarms of legal Pakistanis and Indians coming over, because that is his lineage. This is not going to stop, because these people are fundamentally different. It's not from a place of hate that you say that. It's a place from logic. Logically, these people are different. So I think it is in the benefit of the media, it's in the benefit of the government, the investors, the multinationals, for these statistics to be hired down and to sit there calling the white man of this country gammon and say that we're flag shaggers and far right, because the term far right has been coined in the last 3 years in the UK, and it's now everywhere. Nothing's right wing anymore. It's just far right. Because if they can hammer you down with that, they have you in the perfect position where if you speak up, you are called an extremist.
What's wrong with countering the far left at the level to which they need to be countered? And why does being signified as far right hold any power? I mean, in the US, it doesn't really matter what they call you. In fact, I'd say that we have a very, very strong, dissident right that's brewing in our country. It's universal, and it's across the board. And there's even a lot of minorities who are mad for us because they had fled their countries and had enjoyed living in the benefits of a majority white nation and population. And now as they're becoming the majority, they're losing a lot of the benefits, the trust, things that have gone on. And not that I have to bring them in. You've spoken a lot about how our movement isn't so Anglo though here. Like that is something like a lot of people that are not white, that are brown, are sort of not exact quote hijacking the movement. What do you mean by that with maybe some of our movements are not Anglo enough? And how important is being white to what we need to do in our nations in terms of getting done what needs to get done?
Sure. So I would say that America is an interesting topic because it was a country that was formed by people moving there, and I think people differentiate between the ideas of land and a nation. A nation is created by a certain amount of people that wanted to build up that area of land. So the nation of America now, or the Native Americans, I would say, to that land, are the white people, the Anglos and the Europeans that came over to build up what we now know as the United States of America. So I think when it comes to our question of the Anglos, so England was formed predominantly by the Anglos, by the Celts. So when we talk about that, and I say that the American movement is not Anglo enough, it's a weirder conversation because it's the Anglos, and then you had a lot of the Europeans as well that were building that. It's more diverse in regards to that lineage, although still predominantly white, which does need to be addressed because we can say it nicely. People always say it when it comes to colonialization. They go, well, you ruined these countries. There was nothing going on there anyway. The white people did build the majority of the world that has now succeeded. And it's important to stick by the idea of that is your heritage, your lineage built that. So when we talk about the Anglos and the Celts, they are the tribes of this nation. It doesn't matter what people say. They can't sit there and go, well, I'm British as well. I was born here. Your passport's a legal documentation. You will never have the genetic factors that I do. And the same thing with the people that built America. A lot of the people, like the Indians or the Browns, that might have an issue with you guys sitting there and go, well, America was a white nation. It was a white nation because it was still built by my ancestors that went over there. It was still built by the Europeans that had close ties to us that went over there. So I think displaying that message is important because, again, it's this group identity that we are a part of.
Right. You know, my background is actually I'm English German, and my family actually helped settle this country as well in terms of genuinely building up the Northeast, right, or the New England area. And you know, it's always funny to me, when you have people like Vivek Ramaswamy telling me America is an idea. I'm like, I'm sorry. Why are you in any position to be telling me what America is or isn't? Because I can read the journals of my own family members, and I can read the journals of our founding members and those who actually made America and had a vision for what America is, and they don't say that. You know, they just don't say that. And it seems like they've done such a good job in our nations of erasing our own history. I want to talk to you about something slightly more controversial that I think we'll probably only put on our locals channel. So if you're watching this interview, it'll probably just cut straight to the end here. But I want to put behind the paywall a conversation on whether or not we did win or did not win World War II.